All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started today. We already talked about the song a little bit. So today, my title, or what I'm talking about today, is "Be careful, little ear, what you hear." Okay. So there's a lot of things that we talked about, hearing things, because when you hear things, you don't know what to believe until you hear it. Or somehow, either you read it, which is technically not hearing it, but it's close. Either you read it, unless you read it out loud, that is true. Either somehow you have to hear about something before you can believe something. For example, if I told you that H2O is water.
Hydrogen to oxide. Not oxide, but oxygen.
Okay, so if I told you H2O was water, well, you heard something. In order to believe something, you have to hear it first. If you had no idea what H2O was, and you wouldn't know what to believe until somebody told you or until somebody gave you information about it. So we're going to be talking about what you hear. Everybody say Colossians 2.
Colossians 2.
8.
8.
Okay, listen very carefully. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy or vain deceit, after the tradition of men or after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Basically what this is talking about is be careful that people don't use their intellect, their knowledge. Be careful that people at school, whatever the case may be, we can tell you, well, God doesn't exist, or we came from monkeys, or that we came from slime, whatever the case may be.
They came from a
That's
witch.
philosophy and vain deceit. That's men trying to use their knowledge and their wisdom against God or over God. The Bible says, beware of those people that use their vain deceits and their knowledge to try to do it. There's other stuff involved, but that's what I'm going to go over right now. Matthew 7:15. Everybody say Matthew 7:15.
Matthew 7:15.
Beware. Everybody say beware.
Beware.
Okay, it says this. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. I think everybody knows what a sheep is, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a wolf is, right?
It's the one that has stuff
Okay.
on it.
What eats sheep?
Wolf.
Wolves. That's right. So a wolf dressing up like a sheep so that they can eat the sheep. The Bible says, beware of false prophets that dress up like sheep, but they're really wolves.
sheep.
It's not talking about people that actually dress up like sheep. What it's talking about is be careful of people that act good, that on the inside are bad.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what the Bible's talking about, is be careful about those people. So we're going to be talking about it. Yes, quickly.
I know how to act. I'm not, when I know how to speak pig.
You know how to speak pig.
Wink, wink.
Oink, oink. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about today, but okay, he can speak pig.
Animals.
Animals, I guess so. All right, so I'm going to get ready for a skit here, so give me just a moment.
Andrew.
Hello, class. My name is Professor Phil Ossife, and so today I want to talk to you about a couple of things. By the way, if you cannot or do not want to call me Professor Phil Ossife, you can call me Dr. Phil. Now, yes, thank you. Now, I'm going to be talking today about something that all of you should know what it is. In fact, I brought a couple of rudimentary visual aids. So, first of all, I want you to take a picture, look at this picture, and tell me what you think this is. Oh, we have several hands. What is this?
The moon.
That is the moon. You are right. So today we're going to be talking about the moon. In fact, we're going to be talking about resources from the moon. Things that you get that are useful from the moon. Yes. And so, there's a couple of things. Now, today there actually are things from the moon that we use. In fact, there is something that is used all over the country in some of the most expensive restaurants that come directly from the moon. But you see, you won't hear this because you see, the powers that be, if you will, the government or whatever else, have kept it hush-hush. Because if people knew that the stuff that they were getting came from the moon, they would be like, oh my goodness. So, before I move on to that and talk about that a little bit more, I want anybody to tell me, do you have any idea what that is? What is that?
Cheese.
That is cheese.
Moon
Now,
cheese.
I want you to look very closely at this. You look at this, and you look at this.
That's the moon.
They look very, very close. In
It's
fact,
called the moon cheese.
now, I want to talk about this. You're actually closer than you think.
That's not
There was
the
actually a
place.
meteor that fell in Nevada. At least they thought it was a meteor. It's something that falls from the sky. Usually they call them falling stars or shooting stars. But they thought it was a meteor, and when they got there, some scientists got there, they found a piece of cheese that was the size of 4 train cars that were put together. And so when they looked at this, they were like, oh my goodness. And so they took it and they sent out the information. We just found a huge piece of cheese. Well, the government immediately moved in to make it hush-hush, but it got out. So, what people do not know, and in fact, what a lot of people should know, is that the moon is actually made out of cheese.
No, it's not.
The moon is made out of cheese. In fact, just a moment. In fact, the thing about it is that you can see here. I already showed you some pictures, but I want to show you. This is not moon cheese, because moon cheese is extremely expensive. You only find it in the most expensive restaurants because of how hard it is to get. But I want you to look at this. I've got 2 pieces of cheese here. Of course, this is Swiss cheese, and this is American cheese. But you can see the coloration on the American cheese, and you see how that it is all mixed together. And then you got the Swiss that's got the holes in it. So the mixing of coloration is natural to cheese, and the holes are natural to cheese. And when we look at this picture of cheese here, you can see there's a mixing of coloration. Everybody see that? See a mixing of coloration, and there's also, if you look very carefully, you can see holes in it. Now, when we look at the moon, when you look at the surface of the moon, you can see holes, but you see a mixing of coloration. That's because it is actually made out of cheese. Now, why am I talking about this today? In fact, the reason I'm talking about this is because only the richest of people have access to it. In fact, most of them don't even know they're eating moon cheese. But it's some of the best cheese out there. I think because, well, the government has suppressed this and not let anybody know that the moon is actually made out of cheese. The reason, because people, if they knew they were eating something that came from the moon, they'd be like, oh my goodness, they're not going to eat it. But it actually is very good for you. It has a lot of minerals and things in it. The moon is made out of cheese. A lot of people will say it's made out of clumps of rock, but it's really not.
Yes, it is.
Now, but I do think, I do think that if more people know about this, that we can send mining expeditions to the moon and bring back a lot of cheese back to the United States and other parts of the world. And so everybody, the common man, should have access to moon cheese. I do believe the common man should have access to moon cheese. And so these are just a couple of visual aids. I will be answering questions and will be able to give you more information Tuesday at the main Civic Center there, the atrium and the Civic Center. And so for those, I'm sorry? The Civic Center. It's basically the town. No, Civic Center. It's basically the town hall meeting room. So now we're going to. I'll be able to answer questions. I also will have. What was I going to say? Now, I'm going to have more documentation. I'll be able to show you the report the scientists sent in about finding the cheese that was large, that actually was a piece of the moon that broke off. A meteor hit the moon and knocked a chunk off that slung it into our atmosphere. And when it hit our atmosphere, it fell to Earth, and they found it. And it's actually the largest chunk of moon cheese that we have. And of course, a lot of it is being held by the government. But anyways, so hopefully you have understood what I had to say. And please petition the government. Go to your local legislation and petition the government that the common man should have moon cheese. The common man should have moon cheese. Thank you. And remember, I am Professor Phil Osophy, or you can call me Dr. Phil. Thank you and good afternoon.
The moon's not made out of cheese. You know that.
Okay. No, the moon is not made out of cheese. But man didn't come from monkeys either. So what just a minute, buddy. I'm going to finish this. What we think of as truth, what you hear as truth, do you automatically assume something is truth because a certain person says it to you? Why do you think it's truth? How do you know something is true? You got to be careful, because the Bible said there's going to be a lot of people out there teaching philosophy and vain deceit. They're going to be out there teaching these things and say that these are truth when they're really not. You have things at school, you have things that people will tell you. They'll say God isn't real, or they have opinions about God. They'll say God only wants you to do this, or they'll say that the only thing you have to do to live for God is follow the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are important, but that's not all you have to do. There's other stuff you have to do to follow God. So you have to be careful that people don't tell you, or you don't accept what everybody says as truth. While you're at school, wherever you might be, you've got to make sure that you don't accept everything people say is true. How do we know what is true and what is not true? Our testing of truth should always be from the Bible. Everybody say first the Bible.
First the Bible.
Then godly people. Everybody say godly people.
Godly people.
And then say thirdly,
Thirdly,
through the Spirit of God
through the Spirit of
in
God
prayer.
and prayer.